There is no conspiracy with the Charlie Kirk assassination. None that I can find, no evidence for such. And I'm responding to a conspiracy theorist with ballistics experience argument to Alex Jones on the Alex Jones show, saying that the 30-06 round would have blown open the spine of Charlie Kirk. The evidence is that he tested a cow bone against a sheet of metal wrapped in hamburger meat, and it did blow up the cow bone. I mean, that's just what it did, and honestly, when a 30-06 round hits bone, it's going to blow it up. However, a massive oversight made by him is that the gun used was a bolt action 30-06 rifle, and the bolt action 30-06 rifle can be loaded with a 308 round. And his words, not mine, a low grain 30-06 round might be possible to stop at the spine, given that the 308 is less grain than the 30-06, given that it came out of a 30-06 rifle, meaning that it's not the most optimal rifle to come out of, given that it stopped at a filament, a metal filament, the metal filament not half-inch steel but titanium, way stronger than steel. The 308 round could have stopped at the titanium in the back of Charlie Kirk's neck. So what you have is a killer with a motive to kill Charlie Kirk, and the reason why he would use a 308 round, he doesn't have to be an expert to make a low-grained 30-06 bullet. Instead, he would just use a 308 round because of rifling. Killers have been often known to use different bullets for different guns throughout forensics fucking history. You can throw a 410 shotgun slug into a 45-70. You often use different bullets for different revolvers, and in this case you can use a 308 bullet for a 30-06. And the reason why is so that you would try to avoid getting caught because of the rifling. We don't know exactly if that makes a difference, the rifling to identify the gun, but perhaps it does. And so what you have is the gunpowder of the rifle that had been shot. It had been shot one time. You have the murder weapon, and you have the killer who used a 308 bullet in a 30-06. The 30-06 bullet was not used. It was a 308 bullet in a 30-06. The 308 bullet stopped at the back of the spine by a metal filament as identified by the autopsy report. So you don't have evidence that it was another gun. You have the same murder weapon. You just have evidence that it was a different bullet. A bullet that could be fired out of the murder weapon. Which concludes that it's not a conspiracy. It's not a frame job. The shooter that shot Charlie Kirk is the shooter. Now, he had like a girlfriend, a trans girlfriend, and he was involved in the LGBTQ. His parents were heavily conservative, so he was going through the phase in his life when you resist your parents' politics. And there is indicators that he might have had Asperger's. People say, I don't know if he actually did have Asperger's, and I don't want this to be damaging to people with Asperger's. But given that if he in fact did have Asperger's, one of the things that was said by Alex Jones, and I don't I don't really get into politics. I don't hate any of these people, and like I said, I wanted to watch Alex Jones, just to see what they say, because sometimes I do research on these people, and Alex Jones has a lot of research, but there's often like a mixture of conjecture, speculation, and sometimes conspiracy. In this case, it was conspiracy. And I was sitting there listening for this one time, and I was like, but you could use a .308 round in a 30-06 rifle. And that just like completely blew it away for me, because then the next thing that follows in this Gish Gallop is he used ChatGPT to talk to his peers. And I'm like, okay. The reason why I'm saying okay is because maybe perhaps if you're an Alex Jones watcher or you're Alex Jones, it doesn't make sense that the person's using ChatGPT to talk to his peers, unless the person is a student and is in fact, or does in fact have Asperger's. If the person has Asperger's, they're using less mental energy when they use ChatGPT, because it takes a lot of mental energy to talk and communicate if you have Asperger's. So to coincide with the claim that he has Asperger's and to say that, well, he used ChatGPT, it doesn't give a lick of evidence to the idea that it's a conspiracy. And this is going to start a fire that doesn't need to be started. There doesn't need to be a fire of, well, there's a whole bunch of conspiracy around the shooting, and like somebody is behind it other than the shooter. And perhaps there's extra people behind it, but there's no frame job here. This is the actual shooter. Justice is done for this one guy, at least. The man who pulled the trigger is going to die. And students will use ChatGPT to talk to their peers and professors to sound smarter. It's just a common thing people do. So saying that, well, he used ChatGPT to talk to his peers, saying and is justified here. It's not a dismissal fallacy, because it's a common thing. Last but not least, there is the itch in the back of their necks that there could be a conspiracy behind resuscitation. Maybe they failed to resuscitate Charlie Kirk on purpose. Maybe they could have saved Charlie Kirk's life. Given that the autopsy report is correct, that the bullet would have stopped at the back of the spine, given that the bullet was a .308 in a 30-06, then it was probably not possible to save Charlie Kirk's life. And so we don't even have a conspiracy of resuscitation here. What we have is a victim, Charlie Kirk, shot by an enraged leftist, with the right equipment and trying to make the right means to not get caught. Even going as far as using ChatGPT to not get caught. And that's a big deal. And that concludes that there's no conspiracy.